The real illusion, the real deception, also lives inside the cabin. In any driving school in the world, they teach you one basic rule: keep your eyes on the road while checking your speed and vitals. But Tesla decided that slapping a tablet to the side was innovative. To an engineer, that's a massive downgrade in ergonomics. You're not sitting in a premium car. You're sitting on an empty, uncomfortable bench. Compare that to the BYD Han. Same dual motors, same battery capacity, but inside, you actually feel like you're in a high-end vehicle, not an empty room with a monitor. Their design serves your comfort, not Elon Musk's profit margins. And then there is the software. They sell us Autopilot as the absolute pinnacle of AI. But let's look at the sensors, or rather, the lack of them. A few years ago, Tesla quietly removed the radar. Then they removed the ultrasonic sensors. Why? They told you Tesla Vision, relying only on cameras, is somehow better. That is a blatant lie. They removed them to save maybe $100 per car. Now you have a $100,000 tech marvel that phantom brakes on the highway because a shadow looked weird, or fails to park properly because the camera is blinded by the sun or covered in mud. A cheap $15,000 hatchback has parking sensors that work in the rain. Your premium EV doesn't. Furthermore, the second you lose your internet connection, this technological marvel turns into a pumpkin. Without a link to servers in California and online maps, you are left with basic 90s cruise control. That's not autonomy. That's total dependency. You don't own this tech. You're just renting it as long as you have a signal. Look at how repairability has completely degraded across the board. The secondary market is going to be a graveyard of disposable tech. Who is going to buy a used EV when the battery pack is glued together, the frame is a single unweldable piece of cast aluminum, and the sensors have been removed? Tesla has engineered it so you can't fix your car in a normal shop, forcing you to buy massive, expensive assemblies. That's not progress. That's a financial trap for the owner. The irony is, the illusion has already shattered. Today, Tesla has admitted defeat and started buying those exact same BYD Blade batteries for their cars in the European market. An American legend is now running on the Chinese tech it spent years trying to ignore. The future isn't being built in California anymore. It's being built wherever they prioritize real hardware over a shiny wrapper. This is just the beginning. In upcoming videos, we'll tear down even more EV myths. We'll look at the US market, European factories, and show you what the Chinese brands are actually hiding. If you care about raw engineering and not marketing hype, subscribe to the channel. We speak in numbers and facts. See you in the next teardown. Now, let's talk about the chassis and the so-called manufacturing revolution. The press loves to praise Tesla's Gigacasting. They are stamping cars out like toy cars. Yeah, that's great for their factory efficiency, but it is an absolute disaster for you, the owner, when you replace a traditional multi-part frame with a massive single piece of cast aluminum. You completely change the physics of a crash. Let's break down the metallurgy. I work with aluminum and stainless steel every single day. Cast aluminum, especially the high-pressure die-cast alloy Tesla uses, is fundamentally different from extruded or stamped steel. It is highly porous. When you try to repair a crack using a semi-automatic MIG or TIG welder, all those trapped gases expand. The weld pool bubbles. You get severe porosity, and the joint becomes dangerously weak. You cannot just run a quick bead over a cracked Gigacast frame and call it safe. The heat-affected zone loses its temper, destroying whatever structural integrity was left. In many cases, Tesla's own repair manuals tell technicians to use structural adhesives and rivets instead of welding. Think about that. Holding your car's frame together with industrial glue because the metal itself is too compromised to be welded. What saves Tesla a few hours on the assembly line costs you the entire value of the car. It's an instant total loss for a minor hit. And while we are on the subject of metal, let's look at their latest gimmick, the Cybertruck. Elon sold the world on an indestructible stainless steel exoskeleton, but marketing doesn't respect physics. They use a cold-rolled 30X series stainless steel. Stainless is notoriously unforgiving. When you apply heat to it, whether from an impact, friction, or an attempted weld repair, it warps violently due to its high thermal expansion coefficient. A minor dent cannot just be hammered out. filled with Bondo, and painted like a normal car. The metal stretches and deforms. Furthermore, because there is no clear coat, every scratch requires you to perfectly match the directional grain of the steel to hide it. If you fail, it looks like a scratched refrigerator. It's another brilliant corporate trick. Sell a material that sounds invincible to tech bros on Twitter, but is an absolute nightmare and financially ruinous to actually maintain. And this brings us to a glaring contradiction: basic quality control. How is it that a company claiming to build the most advanced AI on the road cannot consistently align a door panel? We've all seen the infamous Tesla panel gaps. Water leaking into the trunks, weather stripping falling off, paint peeling after a few months. These aren't software bugs you can patch over the air. This is fundamental mechanical engineering 101 that legacy automakers figured out 50 years ago. Tesla treats hardware like software. Ship the beta version to the customer and fix it later, but you can't push an over-the-air update to fix a misaligned trunk that won't close properly. Stop lying to yourselves. You didn't buy the future of automotive engineering. You bought a $100,000 illusion, and I'm going to prove it with hard numbers. Before we dive into the specs and tear down the hardware, let me make one thing crystal clear. I am a massive fan of electric vehicles. I love the tech, I believe in it, and I want it done right. That's exactly why I'm making this video. I'm not here to hate on EVs. I'm here to defend them. To defend them from the marketing smoke and mirrors that try to sell us cheap shortcuts disguised as progress. My goal is to give you the raw facts. I don't care if the badge on the hood says Tesla, BMW, or Xiaomi. If the engineering is weak, we'll call it weak. Let's get into it. What is the Tesla illusion? If you want to know the truth they hide behind billion-dollar ad campaigns, watch this video to the end. We're used to treating these cars as the pinnacle of tech, practically spaceships on wheels. But today, we're tearing them down the way an engineer does, not a fanboy. I'll show you exactly where true innovation stopped and relentless cost-cutting began. It all started in 2012, when the Model S dropped. As a true EV enthusiast, I said, wow, finally real progress. The design, the speed, it was a shock to the system. It felt like the future had arrived, but that excitement lasted exactly until I looked inside its heart, the high-voltage battery pack. Let's be brutally honest. Tesla is still building its packs out of thousands of cylindrical cells. Essentially, it's just a massive, overpriced version of the AA batteries in your flashlight. While a standard battery might last 400 to 800 charge cycles, Tesla, through chemistry and cooling, managed to squeeze out maybe 1,000, 1,500 cycles max. And that's their ceiling. But it gets worse. Let's talk about their so-called revolution, the 4,680 cells, and the structural battery pack. Elon promised a breakthrough. What did we actually get? A disposable car. They take these new cells and drown them in a sea of pink polyurethane foam. It's essentially a giant block of toxic glue. In older EVs, a specialized shop could open the pack, isolate a bad cell, and replace it. With the structural pack, forget it. You can't dissolve that glue. You can't repair it. If one module fails, you throw away the entire structure. It is the ultimate anti-repair middle finger to the consumer. Compare that to the Chinese giants like KTL or BYD. And it's almost a joke. Their Blade Battery delivers 3,000, 5,000, sometimes even 6,000 charge cycles. That's 4 times the lifespan. While you're paying a premium for an American badge, Chinese cab drivers are riding on hardware that will outlast the car itself several times over. I know there are a lot of die-hard fans watching, and this might sound harsh. If you disagree with my engineering logic, or if you have your own data, drop down into the comments. Let's talk. I'm always ready for a fact-based debate, not